Hello and good day. I hope y'all are staying warm in this cold weather. Today we're going to do the EX5 In Class Project. So download your instructions and download the spreadsheet from Sam. Open the spreadsheet up and save it as an _2, and then let's get started. We'll go step number 1. Go to the Cambridge worksheet, which I'm already there, and unfreeze the top rows of the worksheet. Okay, so the Cambridge or the unfreeze is on your view tab. So being able to view or to view various things is going to be on the view tab. And over here you've got a button that says freeze panes. If you click the down arrow, you'll see unfreeze panes. I do want to show y'all that if you look at your spreadsheet here between 3 and 4, you see that darker cell line. That is what is indicating that there is a pane that is frozen. And if you scroll up and down, you'll notice that the top 3 rows don't move when you scroll. That's the purpose of freezing. It allows you to keep your headers at the top and you can scroll through the data. It's very helpful when you have a lot of data. So we want to unfreeze, so I'm going to click on freeze panes and I'm going to say unfreeze. And you'll see that that line went away. Step 2, sort the data in the Cambridge payroll table first in ascending order by the status field and then in ascending order by the last name field. Okay, so where is the Cambridge payroll table? Well, if you'll notice down here, you've got your spreadsheet, your worksheet names. Well, none of them say Cambridge payroll table. This is a table. When you see these down arrows, those are filter buttons and sort buttons, but it's also indicative of a table. And tables in Excel give you certain properties in which you can do it to all the data. And as you add rows and you add fields, it maintains the property of that column. So if you were to click in any of these fields and come over here where it says Table Tools and go to Design, you'll see here the table name is Cambridge Payroll. And so this is what we're wanting. We're wanting to modify the data and sort this data in this Cambridge table. So we're going to sort in ascending order by status field and then in ascending order by last name field. Okay, so let's look at this first. If we click these arrows, you'll see here it's sort A to Z and Z to A. So I want to sort in ascending order, and you'll see it puts all the full times and all the part times. And then it says to sort by last name field. So if I come over here to the last name field and sort again in ascending order, well, now wait a minute, what's happened here? You'll see I'm no longer sorted by status. It's mixed all these up. So when you use the sort in these fields, it sorts only that field. If you are wanting to sort by multiple fields so that it has all the full times, and then within these full times statuses, the last name is sorted alphabetically, you have to do what's called a multiple sort or a nested sort. And that is done, we can leave that sorted, but that is done in the Data tab. And here is a sort button, okay? So let's click that sort button, and it says, okay, we've already sorted it by status, and it's ascending order, and then I want to add a level, and then I want to sort by last name in ascending order. So now it's going to, within these full-time statuses, it's going to order by last name alphabetically, and then within the part-time statuses, it's going to order those names alphabetically. So I'm going to click OK, and you'll see now full times, those last names are ordered alphabetically. And then the part times, the last names are ordered alphabetically. Okay, insert a total row in the Cambridge payroll total, or Cambridge payroll table. So have your cursor anywhere in the table and come up here to Table Design and click Total Row. And you're going to see by default it puts this total down here into the 2016 values. Well, we also want to do that for the 2014 and the 2015 columns. So I'm going to go here, and when you click in this cell, you'll see this arrow comes up. If you click the arrow, it says, okay, what kind of total do you want to put in here? Do you want an average, a count? What? We want a sum. So we're going to click sum and do the same thing for 2014. Next, we're going to create a pivot table based on the Cambridge payroll table in a new worksheet titled Cambridge Pivot Table. So again, click in here anywhere in your table, and we're going to go to Insert, and we want to insert, it's here on Table Designs, I'm sorry. It's Summarize with Pivot Table. That's what we want. So we're going to summarize with a pivot table. So click that. It automatically selects the table that you want, or that we're doing. And then here in the dialog box, we want to say New Worksheet. So say OK. And it goes on a new worksheet. And you'll see it says Sheet 1. Right click on it and say Rename. And we're going to call it Cambridge Pivot Table, and hit Enter. And then there are steps A through E that we need to do to create this pivot table. So it says add the status field and the last name field in that order to the rows area. So I'm going to click on status, and you'll notice it automatically goes under the rows. If it doesn't go there, you can move it. Just click it and drag it. But we want it in rows. And then last name. And if you happen to have clicked last name before status, you can move it. But we want it to say status and then last name in the rows column, because that's how it sorts it. It sorts it by status. And then within the status field, it sorts it by last name. Okay, then it says add the 2014, 2015, and 2016 fields in that order to the values area. So I'm going to click on 2014, 15, and 16. And it automatically puts them in here in the status. But again, if it didn't for whatever reason, you can move them. And then it says update the sum of the 2014 field in the values area to display the name 2014 salaries with the accounting number format with 0 decimal places. And we're going to actually do that for 2014, 2015, and 2016. And those are the last 3 steps. So I'm going to show you multiple ways in which to do it. So the first way is under here in the values area, you can click the down arrow, and you can go to value field settings, and then this is going to pop up. It says custom name. So instead of saying sum of 2014, we're going to say 2014 salaries. Okay, we are doing a sum, so we want to keep that. And then right here is your number format. So if you click that button, you can come and choose accounting with 0 decimal places and say OK, and say OK one more time. And you'll notice here it changes it to 2014 salaries, but it also changes it here where it says 2014 salaries. The second way of doing this is you can actually just type in here and say 2015 salaries, and it automatically changes it here as well as here. So it really depends on which one is easiest for you. So I'm going to do this for both of them. And then to change the number format, we want it to be accounting just like this. If you right click on the heading And there is an option right there that is number format. So I'm going to click number format, accounting, 0 decimal places, and say OK. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, so that was steps 1A through E. Step 5, go to the Waltham worksheet and complete the following steps. Okay, so I'm going to click over here on Waltham, and we're going to do the following steps. Sort the table by the status field in ascending order. I'm going to go to status and sort A to Z. Because we are only sorting by one field, doing this button is just fine. Then it says convert the table to a normal range. This option is only available if you do not select the header rows. So click anywhere in your data fields. You can click any cell that you want to. It does not matter. Go to Table Tools and Design, and you've got a button under here that says Convert to Range. Click that. And it's going to come up and say, do you want to convert the table to a normal range? Well, yes, I do. So I'm going to say yes. And you're going to see that now our sort fields have gone away. And I no longer have, this table is no longer named. You have to do this in order to be able to do the subtotals, which is what we're wanting to do. So insert subtotals into the range A3 through G10 with the subtotals appearing at each of the status column values. So I'm going to select A3 through G10, and then under data you have subtotal. So I'm going to click this subtotal button, and I want to each change in status. So that means each time this changes from full-time to part-time, I want to put a subtotal. There's only 2 changes, but that's okay. Then it also says the subtotals should use the sum function and include subtotals for the 2014, 15, and 2016 fields. So make sure 2014, 15, and 16 is selected, and then make sure that up here it says use function sum. That's what we want. And then you want to make sure that this box, summary below data, is checked. It should be checked by default, but if it's not, make sure you check it and say OK. And you'll see for full-time it says full-time total, and it gives us totals, and then part-time total and grand total, and that's what we want to see. Step 6. Go to the Nashua worksheet, create an Excel table with the headers based on range A3 through G8. So we're going to go to Nashua, and we want to create a table. So we're going to select A3 through G8, and if you do your quick analysis, you can go to Tables and then say Table. And it's going to come up, and you'll see it does row A3 is your titles, and then it puts your data below it. Then it says rename the table Nashua Payroll and format the table using table style medium 10. So again, click anywhere in your table, and under Table Design you'll see your table name, and it's labeled Table 2. So we want that to say Nashua Table, all one word. Make sure you keep it all one word. And then under your table styles, which is over here, we're going to go to Medium Style 10, which is this one. So now it looks like all of our other tables. And then add the following record as shown in bold in Table 1 below to the end of the Nashua Payroll table. So if you look at your instructions, you have Table 1, and then in bold you have fields. So the easiest way to do this is if you click in the very last cell of your table and hit the Tab key, it's automatically going to go to the next row. It's going to insert a new row. You'll see that it keeps the formatting the same, and then you enter in the data. You do not have to put the dollar signs or anything like that when you enter in these numbers, because it's already formatted that column in accounting, and so it's going to take the accounting format, which is what we want. Okay, then it says go to the Framingham worksheet and filter the payroll table to show only those records with the status field of part-time. So let's go to the Framingham worksheet. And now, instead of doing a sort, we want to do a filter. So we're going to go to the status, and down here is your filter. So you can filter by color. We don't want to do that. We can do text filters. We don't want to do that. Right here, you'll see these are the values that are inside in that column, and we want to show only those that are part-time. So I'm going to uncheck full-time and say OK. Then it says delete the duplicate record for Mary Nichols from the Framingham payroll table. So you'll see there's 2 Mary Nichols. So you can do this in 2 ways. You can right-click here on 8 and say delete row, and that's going to take care of it. The more ideal way, and what they're really trying to get you to see, is the way that you can search large tables for duplicate values. So if you go to data, there is an option here that says remove duplicates. So I'm going to say remove duplicates, and for our case, I'm only going to get duplicates on first name. Okay, and I'm going to say OK. Make sure all of them are unselected. There we go. So duplicates on last name, and say OK, and you'll see it says 1 duplicate value found and removed, 4 unique values remain, and say OK. Well, we only see 2 values, but why is that? Because we have this status here filtered. If we were to click that full-time again, you'll see there are indeed 4 values. So make sure that your filter is on part-time. You should only see 2 rows. Step 10, go to the All Employees worksheet and freeze the top row of the All Employees worksheet. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is go to View, Freeze Panes, and say Freeze Top Row. And you'll notice that darker line here shows up to show that we have a freezed pane. And if we scroll now, you'll see that top frame stays put. Then use the Find command to find the record for employee Brianne Brown. Edit the record by changing the 2016 field values to 34,000. And then close the Find and Replace dialog box. Okay, so there is 2 ways of doing this. The Find and Replace, or the Find and Select, is on the home ribbon, and it's all the way here at the end under Editing, and you'll see Find and Select. So if you hit that and click Find, then you can say you want to find, and I'm just going to do it by the first name, and you'll see it highlights the row in which you found it. The shortcut way of doing this without having to go and do all of this is just hit your Control key and hit the F key at the same time, and you'll see your Find and Replace dialog button box comes up. So we found Brianna Brown, and we want to change her 2016 salary to be $34,000. Okay, filter the table to show only records for employees who work part-time. So on status, we're going to take off full-time once again and say OK. So now we only see employees that have a full-time status, a part-time status. But wait, we also want to filter on those who had a 2016 salary greater than or equal to $30,000. Okay, so remember when we did a sort, we had to do the special sort here. Okay, filter is not that way. So filter will filter what you're seeing on the screen and only what you're seeing on the screen. So you're going to filter on part-time status first, and then you're going to go here to 2016 and go to number filters and say greater than or equal to, and then say 30,000 and say OK. And you'll see that it only filters what you see on the screen. If you were to remove this filter and put full-time back in there, then this filter is still in place, and it's all those that are over 30,000. So really, you can do the filter in any order that you want to. Just make sure you do both filters. Okay, now step 13. Switch to the Employees Pivot Table worksheet. Refresh the pivot table. So what basically the All Employees is pulling all the data, or the Employees Pivot Table, I'm sorry, is pulling all the data from all the different worksheets, or actually from this All Employees worksheet. And remember, we changed this to say 34,000. So if we look at the Employees Pivot Table and we find Brianna Brown right here, well, it says 30,000 because that was the old value, right? So if I click in this pivot table and I go to Analyze, I go to Data, and here is a Refresh All button. So if you click Refresh All, you're now going to see this value has changed to 34,000 to reflect what is in that table that this pivot table is created on. Okay. Apply the Pivot Style Medium 10 Pivot Table Style to the pivot table. So Design, under your pivot table tools, Design, click your down arrow, and we want Medium Style 10. Step 15, update the sum of the 2014 field in the values area to display the name 2014 salaries. So again, you can do this in either way. You can edit it directly right here, or you can edit it down here, whichever you want to do. And then right click and say Number Format, change it to Accounting with 0 decimal places. Then, step 16, create a filter for the pivot table by adding the status field to the filters area. So I'm going to click on status, and you'll notice it puts status down here at the bottom. I don't want status there. I want status to be a filter. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to drag it up. When you do that, you're going to see up here, it puts these two cells here in row 1. And that's your status. So this allows us to filter the entire table based on full-time or part-time. And we want to filter it on part-time. So I'm going to click part-time and say OK. So now we see only those that are part-time. Next, we're going to create a slicer that will filter the pivot table based on the office field value. So again, click anywhere in your table, go to Analyze, and say Insert Slicer. And we want to do it on the office field value, and say OK. So now you get this little box that comes up. We need to resize it. So right click and go to Size and Properties. And we're going to change the height to 1.75. And we're going to change the width to 1.5. And then move the slicer so that the top left-hand corner is in cell E3. And then we're going to filter the pivot table so that only employees from the Cambridge offices are visible. So you'll see all 4 of these are selected, and that's why we see all 4 of them here. If we click on Cambridge, you're going to see the others 3 go away and only Cambridge shows up. If you click on Framingham, you're going to see only Framingham shows up. We want it on Cambridge. Step 18, switch to the office pivot table. So here's our office pivot table. Refresh the pivot table data. So we already know where that is. It's under Data. We're going to say Refresh All. And then insert a pivot chart with the clustered column chart type. So we're going to go to Insert, and here's an option for Pivot Chart. Click that, and we want the clustered column chart option. And say OK. So it puts a chart in here. And then it says update the pivot chart as described to below to match figure 3 on the following page. So it says move and resize the pivot chart so that the top left corner is in cell E3. So I'm going to move it so the top left hand corner is in E3 and the bottom right hand corner is in P26. So P26. So it's going to look like that. Add the chart title yearly salaries by office location. So it's the same way as any other chart. You hit the plus key or the plus button, hit the chart title, and we want to do above chart. Select your chart title and say yearly salaries by office location. Okay. Then it says use the status access field button to filter the pivot chart so that only the salary of part-time employees at each office location is shown. So down here in your bottom, here's your filters. Say status, and we only want part-time. And that is it. If you look at your instructions, it has every sheet and how it should look. So double check your sheets and make sure they all look the same. If they all do and you have what you need, then you can save it and submit it to Sam and you are done. Have a great day.